Hello again, Michael Freeberg here from beautiful North Carolina on the first day of spring. Today's shave is going to be a travel themed shave. I'm going to be talking about a brush I've used during recent travels, a cream I picked up overseas, and a travel razor that I also purchased overseas. I want to sort of talk through those products. Some of these things I'll be using for the first time, but let me go ahead and get started with number one, the brush. So for today's shave, I'm going to be using a brush that was gifted to me by a fellow Redditor, Mr. Barnes. Thank you very much. Really appreciate this. This is one of the typical Poisson style knots. I have never used a synthetic before. This was kindly given to me just as a chance to try one out. This makes a fantastic travel brush. Frankly, these are really good. They dry very quickly, very low maintenance, and they do work very well. Now, I will say this is a very different feel than a Badger or a boar brush, and I'll talk about that as we go ahead and begin working up the lather. Like all synthetics, it does not need to be soaked before you use it. I am going to wet it through before we start. Today's shaving cream will be Creme de Golenia Leader from Poland. I have two creams from Poland. This is the Leader. The other one I have is the Vars, which I'll maybe use in a later shave as well. I've had this for about a year, haven't really broken into it. As you can see, it is a metal tube. And if you're traveling with a tube like this and you have kind of tube OCD where you don't like the fact that the tube gets dented or mashed in or maybe even bends or splits open, that's one thing to think about for these kind of metal tubes. If it really gets, sort of smashed during travel, you're going to have a bit of a problem. But so far, so good. I'm going to be using a razor that I actually purchased in Poland just a few short weeks ago. It is, of course, it's the Wilkinson Sword Sticky, the Wilkinson Sword Classic. Comes just a standard cardboard pack. It came with 5 Wilkinson Sword blades, which I'll be using today as well. The entire kit went for under $4. So that's a pretty good deal for a travel razor. This is a metal handle, but the rest of the razor is entirely plastic. It is a 2-piece razor, and you just hold the top cap, screw the handle, and it comes undone. And as you can see, entirely plastic cap, right? And the cap actually encloses the blade ends, which is a very nice feature, especially for new wet shavers, because that end cap can really easily nick you next to your ear, or sometimes down here for me. This is a danger spot right here around my Adam's apple where the edge of the blade catches a little bit. Now it is plastic, so the thread is plastic. You do need to be a bit careful, obviously cautious as you're tightening this down. So let me go ahead and grab this Wilkinson Sword blade. I don't think I've ever shaved with one of these before, or if I have, it's been so long, I just don't recollect how it's shaved. But today will be a bit of an adventure then. All right, so just gonna place this in. The top cap doesn't have any post. It just has a small piece of plastic there in the middle post to hold the blade in place. And as you can see here, there's like 2 small plastic tabs. I've shaved with this for about a week. There's no blade movement. Once you really screw this down and tighten it down, blade is really well set in there. Very mild angle, right? And blade control in here is very good. The blade is really held well in position. All right, let me go and get my face wet again. Apply a bit of the Leader. This beautiful Creme de Golenia. I actually purchased this in Warsaw when visiting my friend Marcin Meller. That was a good time standing behind him in line while he purchased his toilet paper. And I'm holding my my one souvenir. All right, as you can see, it's green. This may remind you of the palm olive a little bit. All right, that should be enough. If not, then we'll go ahead and apply some more before we're done. Cream was really cheap. I think it was under $1. Let's call it $1, something like that. Okay, so I'm wetting the brush through. So first things first, the fibers don't absorb any water, but this brush actually holds a lot of water, right? It's surprising. I didn't really expect that when I first started using it, how much water would still be in there. So for something like face lathering a cream, I'm gonna start off with a bit of a drier brush. Now, this is where it really feels different to me. This particular motion, you see it's sort of springy back and forth a little bit, kind of resistant, but also strangely floppy side to side, very painterly, if you like. So what I do is I push it a little bit, just enough that it starts to splay, and I feel like that gives me a little more control. it feels springy when you do that. And that's true. I can definitely understand why people maybe a little taken aback by that. It does not have a lot of backbone, a lot of rigidity to it. So you should expect like the flip-flops a little bit, but still builds a lather very easily. I'm just dripping a bit of water on. I start off with a dry brush on purpose because it is so floppy. And if you start with a wet brush and you start to do something like this, a lot of water starts getting flung out of the brush and you get these sort of lather storms, lather going everywhere. All right, I'm gonna keep adding just a bit of water. Very pleasant, but a classic soapy scent on this. I mean, I'm not sure what else I expected. Is after all, the leader Crème de Golenia Classic. All right, I'm also going to be doing a full 3-pass shave today. A number of you had requested that I stop cutting these short. Fine. But that means you just have to watch all the way to the end for the blooper reel and the credits. All right, there we go. Now, do need to bear in mind that this is a low-cost commercial shaving cream, so you should not be expecting the kind of amazing, luxurious face feel that you may be getting from some of the higher-end things. But with that said, I've gotten some pretty good shaves out of it. A very mild razor, a very safe feeling razor. This is 2 days of growth. Good audible feedback. You really hear what you're doing. Sounds different than a metal razor, obviously, but razor is light, but it's not so light that you feel like you have to press down to compensate for it. And forgiving in terms of the angle as well. When I looked at the packaging, it was interesting because actually on the cardboard, the imprint at the back, it's not to be sold to people under 18. I don't have any idea why that would be, but if you're 16 and need to shave, this is a great way to start. Especially for the money. I think the whole package was 15 zloty, and that comes to just under $4. And $1 for the Vars, or $1 for the leader shaving cream. You're making a great start. Yeah, see right here, when I do that, the edge, that end of the razor, if the end cap is sticking out, it tends to scrape along my Adam's apple, which is one reason why that often gets irritated. So far, I'm liking this blade actually, performing pretty well. You know, also want to take a moment just to say hello and thank you to all of my friends in Poland. We have friends in Warsaw, friends in Szczecin, new friends in Poznan, friends and colleagues. As always, very hospitable people. Treat us as guests very well. Having attended two soccer matches in Poznan, local team is Lech Poznan. Seen them 2 years in a row. Both times, unfortunately, they lost to Białystok, which, you know, what can you do? Tremendous rivalry between that team and Legia Warszawa. So it's nice to have friends in both cities who, for no reason other than their soccer team allegiance, obviously hate each other in good fun. Yeah, so actually, drugstore where I bought this in Poznan, or bought the razor and the Vars shaving cream, is a German chain, Rossmann's. And a pretty good selection of, kind of the normal shaving stuff, but they also have some shaving creams. There are a number there. Some very, very cheap boar brushes. The Wilkinson Classic, obviously, just there as well. And then a surprisingly large collection of a variety of aftershaves and sort of eau de cologne, all along sort of the Adidas kind of that kind of line. Just surprised at the sheer number available in this kind of supermarket-y drugstore. Yeah, so far a really easy shave. This razor's been fun to use. Like I said, it feels very safe on the face. Obviously, with any safety razor, you can nick or cut yourself. It's a matter of taking care. And the cream, a nice, light perfumed, clean, soapy smell. Good slickness. Just another one of these sort of low-cost, high-value creams if you just want to get into wet shaving and just keep it cheap. Now, I know that for many of you watching these videos that's just completely impossible. The idea of actually saving money or shaving on the cheap just seems a dream long gone. Well, that's what happens when you make shaving into a hobby. Yep, so far so good. Easy shave. All right. Rinse. Pass number 2. Yeah, did a bit of traveling in Poland. I was there about this time and last time. Very easy train rides. Easy to get around. Had a great time visiting in Warsaw last year. Fantastic time visiting in Szczecin this year. It's great to see old friends. It's great to see how things in the country have changed. It's great to see the progress that it's making. It's great to practice your Polish while you're there. To all my Polish friends, I would say, Dzień dobry! I mean, yeah, of course I know more words than that, but some of those words are certainly not fit for mixed company. All right, pass number 3. As you can see, still plenty of lather in there. In fact, what I'll do is, you can also see there's a bit of water still dripping out. I have to say, in terms of the brush, this is a fantastic option for travel. So easy to maintain. It dries almost immediately. It works very well. Very, very soft on the face. I've had very little trouble adjusting to the kind of the different physical characteristics of the brush, the bristles. I know for some it feels a little too floppy. And that may be true, if you get it wet, and just really, if you push down too hard, it's kind of very a flappy. I don't know what other word to use. It just doesn't have the normal backbone or stiffness you might expect. Okay, against the grain, this is going to be, I'm going to see here, I'm going to be doing, as I normally do in my third pass, quite a bit of buffing, because for me, it just seems to work the best. Very light, absolutely no pressure, just changing the angle there a little bit. The hair here doesn't actually all grow straight down, so you have to approach it from a few different angles. Yeah, that can lead to a bit of irritation if you overdo it. And so it's just another one of those lessons that you learn over time. If you're chasing that perfect shave every time, well, people tend to really overdo it. I'm getting pretty close to BBS and certainly close enough that I don't feel like I've done a shabby job. And there are parts where shaving against the grain, I can do it, but it's uncomfortable enough that I just do it carefully. Really try not to overdo it. And this is also, now, at least in North Carolina, the time of the year, spring is starting. And actually spring is really kind of here, that we're already starting to get pollen out of the trees, for example. And what happens then, at least for me, my skin, there's almost an immediate effect. It starts to dry, it gets irritated a bit more quickly. It's like a little inflamed from an allergic reaction to the pollen. That's another reason just not to overdo it. Or to here, I do not like doing what amounts to sort of the fool's pass completely against the grain on my mustache area. Don't like it at all. Doesn't feel good, doesn't feel right at all. So I just don't. I do turn slightly. And for more mild razors or razors that have really good blade control, that's a bit easier. No. Like I said, this is a kind of a low-cost mass market soap, and as a result, you know, it has pretty good slickness, but it's not great. However, just a thin layer that you wet up a little bit. Yeah, for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have to really just sort of watch my skin a little bit. It's very easy in these circumstances to just unknowingly overdo it a little bit. Skin feels a little, inflamed is probably the best word for it, and it's easily nicked a little bit. There we go. Ta-da! Beautiful. All right, let me go ahead and rinse off a little bit. Yeah, it's funny, sometimes I get comments about how long these shaves take. Well, when I normally shave by myself in the mornings, when I do tend to shave every day, of course it doesn't take this long. It takes this long because I'm talking through it and trying to go slow so people can actually, watch the shave happen. But let's say that it did take this long every day. I would still do it because it is simply one of those things that I just absolutely so enjoy doing, and it does not really depend on the high-end object only, right? Still getting a great shave out of, in the scheme of things, very cheap products. What I'm going to be using today as an aftershave, some samples that were sent to me, I've decanted them into this leftover plastic bottle. This is Barrister & Mann Reserve Classic Splash. This is coming out relatively soon. It's going through sort of an extended sampling period. I've really, really enjoyed this. This is what I took with me on my trip to Poland and to the UK. Gone for 2 weeks. I haven't really used that much of it. I have been using it, I haven't been, trying to reduce how much. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Very light tingle. Really, really interesting kind of classic aftershave scent, but with, at least to my nose, light, I think the term is animalic, or sort of a musky scent. Very pleasant. Goes on easy, dries down nicely, feels really good going on. Yeah, if you get a chance to get your hands on some of this, I would definitely recommend trying it out. Very, very nice aftershave splash. Oh, that feels good. All right, what I'll likely do is after the shave, once I'm done cleaning up, I'll probably put on some aftershave balm, maybe one of the waxes, something a little bit heavier, just because you can see, for example, right here, That skin is a little bit irritated. Just have to sort of work around it. All right, well, that was a really good shave. Let's just recap the products that we've used today. The Wilkinson Sword Classic, 2-piece, very cheap, cost-wise, very cheap razor. Plastic materials, metal handle, 2-piece, very mild, good blade control. As you can see, by the way, because my hard water soap scum does show up on here because it's black, it just rubs right off. It's really not a problem at all. Today's blade, surprisingly good. Really enjoyed it in that razor, actually. The Wilkinson Sword, I have 4 more, which I'll probably hold off on a couple of them. Use them in some other razors to see how well they perform there. They come in this nice plastic container. Obviously, I'm sure everyone knows there's a slit in here for you to stick your used blades in. Then you can also pop this plastic piece up if you then want to remove those used blades and put them into your blade bank. Grande Golenia, dolce. Very good. Really nice shaving cream. Very pleasant light scent on this. Lathers up really quite easily. Kind of a cool green color, so you don't see that too often. And the Vars, which I'll probably use in a later shave. Very similar performance. Maybe a little bit slicker in the fingers, but a very similar style shaving cream. Leader, Creme de Golenia, classic. Brush of the day. This is a whipped dog handle, by the way, and the Poisson style synthetic knot. Really nice. I didn't quite know what to expect when I got this. It was a really generous gift from another Redditor. Really very kind of him to send it on. Fantastic traveling companion. Absolutely will be traveling with this brush in the future. It does work very well. Face feel, certainly very different than a Badger or Boar, but easily adjusted to. Nice face feel, very soft on the skin, easy to build a lather, cleans up very quickly. Very happy with that. Finally, sample, Barrister and Mann Reserve Classic Splash. Absolutely delightful. Well, with that, we'll call the shave to a close. Again, if you have questions or comments, you can of course post them against the video. And until next time, let me just say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.